Welcome back to Hold My Merlot. It's me, Fran, your favorite childless cat lady.
And it's Rami Jackson. How are you doing?
And we have Marty in the background. He's our producer.
Hello.
And of course, there are my two cats, Emily and Milo, and my dog, Ziggy, who are currently sleeping because they live the good life.
They sure do. They get wine every week.
Don't get peed on me. My pets only drink water. Thank you. My dog has had dog beer, but it's from a place called Bark Social that actually makes dog beer. Yes, in America, we make everything for everything. So there's dog beer here. So if you go to Bark Social in, I believe it's White Flint, Maryland, which is kind of Rockville-y, whatever. I don't know what new zip code they've created. North Bethesda. I don't even know what the heck it's called. But it's called Bark Social. They have dog beer.
Gotta try that out for an episode. What do you think?
Dog beer?
Yeah.
That's for dogs.
No shit. Give the human perspective.
That'll be a no thanks. So today we're drinking a wine called Angelini.
And so Angelini comes from the north of Italy, from the Veneto region. It is a Pinot Noir, okay, served at 68 degrees Fahrenheit, ideally with salmon, pasta, and pork. It has a bright scarlet color and a taste of strawberry, plum, and raspberry, and has a bit of a crisp, peppery spice to it that really just jumps out at you.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that, honestly, this wine looks appealing already just based on the bottle and the label. But let's dig in.
Okay, so it's Angelini. It's a Pinot Noir from Italy, and we're going to rate it. So, first we start off with the smell.
Smells good.
My nose is a little stuffy. I'm just getting over my 900th cold for the year. It's good. I'm going to give it a 3 because I can't really smell it, but it smells like it should smell good.
I smell it. I smell a tiny bit of the strawberry that they mentioned on the bottle.
Yeah. Strawberry in it, really?
Yeah. And so,
me love strawberries.
Yeah, I got the strawberry smell. I give it about a 4.
Mar, do you smell it? See what you think. It's good. It smells like rubbing alcohol.
2 out of 5.
Okay.
2 out of 5.
I give it a 3. I don't think it's bad, but also my nose is stuffy, so it's not a fair rating.
You know, if the wine, like if this is Wine Olympics, we're like the judges give a 9, and then that judge gives like a 5, and Marty's a 5 guy.
Marty's like 0.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what do you think about the color? I like the color. It's sultry.
It's beautiful. Look at that color, Marty.
It is beautiful.
It is gorgeous. I'm going to give the color a 5. This is
I agree.
Crystal clear. How do you get a Pinot Noir to be clear? I don't know. I can see to the bottom of the glass. It's fabulous. It's gorgeous. It's burgundy. It's rich.
And now, we are not wine people, okay? We are two people who will just go to a party and have the whatever you have, essentially. But
speak for yourself, sir.
I sure am.
I am a wino. Do not give me cheap wine. I will not drink it.
Oh, well, the real wine connoisseurs find the beauty in all wine.
And that's a lie. I will drink it, but I will be talking about you when I get back home.
Oh, then there we go.
I'm telling my dog and my cats all about your cheap wine.
But let's dig in. What's the taste?
It's pretty good. I'm gonna give it a 4.
Me too.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say so. Like, it doesn't jump out at me completely, but you know, it's smooth. And there is a little bit of a spice to it.
Yeah.
Sort of. Or
a lot
at the
of spice.
end. Yeah.
There's definitely some pepper in there somewhere.
I could really picture myself having this with some pasta, you know, and just having like a nice meal with like a good friend. Maybe not like the heaviest drinking like dinner, but like, you know, dinner you want like a glass of wine and just have like good conversation. I think this is the perfect wine for that.
Yeah, it's a bit dry though. Maybe I'll take it back and give it a 4. It's like, I feel like I just licked sand after like 5 seconds of drinking it. Like, what do you think about the dryness? I feel like it's too dry.
You know, honestly,
I prefer wet.
I feel like it's good for what it is.
You think so?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Marty, what do you think about wines that are excessively dry, where you're like, I gotta get water?
They're like my ex-girlfriends. I dump them.
Oh, wow. Oh, go. Whoa. That was a lot. Well, thank you for sharing, sir. So does that mean that a wine that's too dry is not good?
Some can pull it off, others cannot.
No, it's like British humor, hit or miss.
It's always a hit for me. I love British humor. Watched A Gentleman on Netflix if you haven't seen it, by the way. Excellent series. British humor all the way. Hilarious. Anyway.
You should love a dry wine then.
Okay, then I love it. It's great. It's fantastic. 10 out of 10. All right, so I think we should just give it a 4 across the board.
I'd say so.
It's Angelini's Pinot Noir from Italy.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Pop. Hey everybody, so now we're back. It's Fran and I, and we're going to be discussing something very important, very serious today.
Yes.
The rap world has been shaken. Puff Daddy, Sean Combs, P Diddy, or Love, as he has been known.
Also Brother Love.
Brother Love.
And Puffy.
And Puffy.
He has a lot of nicknames.
He sure does, and a lot of indictments. And he was just charged with quite a few different crimes in the past few days by the federal government.
So Sean Combs, aka I think we should just call him Puffy or Puff Daddy. Those are the really main names that he goes by. Has been indicted by the Southern District of New York for racketeering, sex trafficking, and
racketeering, sex trafficking, having a bunch of illegal firearms,
yes,
illegal drugs. Abuse, well, not really the abuse, but like RICO. He has RICO charges, which is associated with racketeering charges. They're throwing the whole book at him. This man is done.
This man has a whole lot of charges against him, and just so before we start, I'm just gonna say that this is a really serious case against Sean Combs, aka Puffy. And please just keep your mind open and, try to take in the information that we're going to give you today try to take it in because it's a heavy subject.
It really is.
It's very, very hard to discuss because, I'm just going to say Dave Chappelle made a joke on one of his specials about a couple years ago, and he talked about how the joke was something about how the kid that was molested by Michael Jackson has a story, and the joke was a lot of you in this room here have been molested, but it wasn't by no Michael Jackson, and a lot of people in the crowd just busted out laughing. And I took note of that because I was like, whoa, if a lot of people are laughing, that means a lot of people have been violated, essentially. Because you shouldn't find anything like that even remotely funny. But people laughed, which means that, just based on that comedy special, I was like, there are a lot of people out there that are hurting. So please take this in and understand that it's a heavy subject, and we're going to try to discuss it with as much humility and as much care as possible, but also look at it from the standpoint of there is legal ramifications as to what Puff Daddy Sean Combs has done. There's the law, okay, and you can only hold people accountable for things that they have done that they can prove that he has done that is against the law, that they can, they have evidence, physical evidence, and or people corroborating the story saying that he's actually done these things. With that being said, Rami, take it away because you're going to be leading today.
Sure. So Diddy was born in the late 1960s in New York City.
In Harlem?
Yes, in Harlem. He saw his father die at the age of 3. And had a pretty interesting childhood growing up. He admitted that he never really understood human emotions as a child. which was kind of a red flag towards his sociopathic tendencies. And he had a little bit of trouble just adjusting to fitting in with people. However, from a young age, Combs always knew that he wanted power, and as a result, he kind of molded himself into being like the guy who would be seen everywhere, who could do everything, and just kind of had a keen eye for seeing opportunities when they presented themselves. So Combs grew up and he went to Howard University, but eventually left school so that he could work for Uptown Records, where he started off as an intern at the age of 19 and worked his way up to a A&R executive, only to be fired by Andre Harrell, a very, very famous rap producer and executive who deserves his own episode, in 1993. Diddy wasn't fired for anything like misconduct performance regions. Of anything, actually, he was too successful.
Wow.
Yeah, no, seriously. He kind of started trying to take over the business away from Andre.
Oh, wow.
And Andre just said, like, listen, bro, like, this is my dream. You got to go start your own. I think you're a smart guy, but you can't take over my business from me.
Right.
Diddy said, all right, bet. And that's when he started Bad Boy Entertainment. So he left, and then he became a megastar. Not a megastar, because Diddy first started off as a rapper and a party promoter. Now, Diddy is good at promoting parties, all right, which kind of is his downfall now. But he was never really a good rapper or musician.
And Diddy's responsible for finding the stars Usher, Mary J. Blige, Biggie being his biggest find, because the Notorious B.I.G. is still listed as one of the greatest rappers of all time in most people's lists, even though he's been dead for 30 years.
No, yeah, and listen, Ready to Die is one of the most successful rap albums in the history of rap.
It is good from beginning to end. If you haven't heard it, go and listen to it. It's a beautiful piece of art. And what he was responsible with, did he find Mace?
No, he did find Mace, but that led to a bunch of legal troubles. Mace was successful to a degree, but never really took off. And he's claimed for decades that Diddy has not paid him the money that he was owed for producing, for basically making those albums. And so that's kind of Diddy's background as a producer. He's been known to have a keen eye for talent, but only to cheat that talent.
Right.
And he's been, here's the thing, we all know Diddy. Diddy's been involved in shady criminal shit since the early 1990s, okay? Like, Diddy, there are numerous conspiracies of Diddy having Tupac, Biggie, or both of them killed, okay? Diddy has cheated, quite frankly, the majority of his talent out of their money, okay? And, just like Diddy, he's a scumbag, okay?
Right, and I'm just going to read what one of my friends from New York actually sent. This is one of my friends, Randy. He's from New Rochelle, New York. New Rochelle is right next to Mount Vernon. So Diddy grew up part of his life in Mount Vernon. And basically he's a pretty well-known character around, Mount Vernon and New Rochelle are in Westchester, New York. Westchester, New York is like about 30 minutes north of Harlem, kind of, but it's all in the same vicinity. So my friend Randy said he gave his artists shitty deals when he was really popular. That didn't sell well with me because he basically took advantage of other black people trying to come up in life. He could have made money and treated them fairly. About a year ago, he gave back music rights to artists, which I thought was cool. I soon learned that those rights were basically worthless, so he drained everything he could and gave them crumbs. So he's what, but to be fair to Diddy, and I'm not saying it's fair as in like this is,
you're not supporting him.
I'm not supporting him. Thank you. This is what the music industry does to a lot of artists.
Very true.
Right? Whenever artists go through record labels and record companies, understand that they get deals that are basically almost impossible to fulfill. Yep. And when they don't fulfill these contracts that they have with these record labels, the record label basically says, well, then we can't really pay you off. So they'll do something ridiculous like, hey, we'll give you $10 million, but you got to give us 10 albums within the next, 10 years, which means you owe them an album per year. And if you don't fulfill the contract, pretty much they kind of just screw you. Most people don't do 10 albums in 10 years or even 5 albums in 10 years. It's extraordinarily hard to pump that much art out given the amount of production that goes into just producing something that is actually decent and able to go out into the stratosphere, into the radio and whatever, into whatever. To produce a song, it takes like a really long time. I don't know if you guys have ever seen music being made, but nowadays it's a little bit easier because you don't need like a whole orchestra to create something. But something like creating music back in the days when Puff Daddy was coming up with the crew. I mean, you would have to probably get a drummer to like drum into like a sound machine, and then you would have to get someone to come in and do the clarinet or whatever it is that you needed to do had to actually be done in a studio. These were elaborate productions. It took a really, really long time to create a song. So a lot of these artists could not fulfill their contracts. So the record labels usually just took advantage and didn't want to pay them out because they couldn't fulfill the contracts, which were impossible contracts to fulfill.
Mm-hmm. For example, what's common in the music industry is getting an advance. So basically, the record label gives you a lot of money. A lot of artists go broke thinking of this advance as their payment. No, it is a loan from the music producer or the record label for you to produce this music, and you need to use this loan to pay people if you're going on tour or if you're making an album or something like that. And if your album or tour or whatever doesn't sell how they think it's going to sell, you have to pay that money back to the company. That's why a lot of musicians end up broke and in debt, because they have to pay all the money that they got in their advance back to the producers. But just moving on, in the late 1990s, after the death of Biggie, Bad Boy Entertainment kind of fell off a little bit.
It sure did.
But that was really nothing to Diddy. Diddy moved on to other ventures. He started working with like Cristal and like, really building like
a brand.
Yeah,
basically.
like exactly. Like a lifestyle brand. Mm-hmm. He got involved with
a clothing company,
apparel.
Right, he came out with Sean John, which is his brand.
Mm-hmm. Like liquor, like
he built a brand Ciroc, which I think is a tequila? I don't even know what Ciroc. What is Ciroc?
It's a type of alcohol.
Thanks.
That's all it is. I can't even tell you if it's liquor or whatever. Or
that's funny.
Spirits.
It's definitely. I don't know what it is actually. I think it's what's white, because Ciroc I think is white. Is that rum or?
It's probably vodka or something.
I think it's vodka. I think Ciroc is vodka. And what else did he venture into? He ventured into television. He did an MTV series called, what is it? To
work. You want to work for Diddy?
No, not You Want to Work for Diddy. I think it's something, The Band or something.
Yes. It's called The Band.
Yeah. Was it called?
I Want to Work for Diddy. Damn it. Okay.
I think it was The Band. I'm not 100% sure.
It was The Band on MTV.
That was a pop sensation for a while. That was a huge hit with some pretty interesting characters. But if you ever notice anything, none of those artists that came on The Band, I think even had one song that came out that you can remember. None of those people made it.
You know the top 5 people that came out of that? Dylan. If
you didn't get that joke, you're really, really young and you haven't lived. Oh, that was hilarious. So he went into television. He went into clothing. He went into making alcohol. Yeah, you're right. Diddy essentially became like a lifestyle brand.
Yeah, and so that's kind of honestly... So it's interesting. And we're going to start shifting gears here, everybody, towards the crimes and the indictment. Because this isn't really a documentary on Diddy. This is really just talking about the crimes and then like the things around the crimes. And so Diddy has been accused of rape, sexual assault, and various acts of violence since the early 1990s. For example, there was a young woman who said that Diddy raped her in 1991 when she was just in high school. And he would have been 20 at the time or something like that.
Yeah, he'd definitely been in his 20s. He's born in 1969.
Yeah. But Diddy really didn't start getting the big crimes going off, and I hate to say it like that, like he's like, some criminal mastermind. He's not. He's just another abusive guy with money. Until the late 1990s. That's when you started seeing like a lot of this stuff where he was building, like, for example, his empire outside of the music industry. That's when you started getting these sex trafficking allegations and things of that nature from the late 1990s onward. And so if you look at this federal indictment, they kind of go back to that to a degree, and they talk about the abuse and the sex trafficking and everything like that. And so I think what's really interesting about this indictment, Fran, I really want to get your opinion on this, okay? Mm-hmm. I don't think that they're really talking about individual acts per se. I think they're really attacking the Combs empire or enterprise together. And so one of my questions for you is that, do you think that this is going to be a reckoning for the larger rap music industry as a whole? Because honestly, Diddy's like Weinstein. We're like, yes, Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby, for example, those guys are doing all the crimes. Okay, they were the worst. Definitely the head honchos of like sexual assault and rape in Hollywood. You know what I mean? Them and Kevin Spacey. But like, that was the industry as a whole too. So every middle person, every producer, every account manager was doing some shit they shouldn't have been doing too. You know what I mean? We got allegations against numerous folks from back then. Tupac has a rape allegation. Biggie has a domestic violence allegation where he choked Lil Kim out. You know what I mean? Like, all them dudes back then were doing some dirt, okay? And so, do you think that this is going to be or lead to a larger reckoning in the rap music industry? Because to me, rap has been an industry where there hasn't really been a Me Too. Like, even Kendrick made a whole popular song about Drake being a pedophile, and there's been no federal investigation. Drake, you could argue Drake has been sex trafficking for years. Like, Drake has been talking about how he likes high school pussy for years.
Listen, you okay? So look, I will always say this: you have to say allegedly, okay? Because until someone is convicted of something, it's always alleged. All right. So be careful of what you say, because words matter. Personally, with this whole thing with Puff Daddy, Puffy, whatever he wants to call himself. It's really sad, but I'm not surprised at any of these allegations. I don't know why I'm not surprised.
Because we all know this guy was trash.
It's not that I knew that he was trash or that I knew anything about him or that I ever saw anything about his character when I saw pictures of him. I think there's been rumors online for a while now because Jaguar, is it Jaguar Wright?
Jaguar White, yes.
Jaguar White. She's a former entertainment star that, let's just say, kind of sort of, she had a few hit songs or something like that. She's been going on and on about the industry and what people have been doing for years now, and people have been listening, but like not necessarily believing everything that she says. They've been calling her crazy, like deranged and bitter and jealous and, has been. Like, you can go through the comments and some of the things that she says and you can see what people say about her. But everything that she has said basically is coming out now.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things that she's been saying are in this indictment.
No, listen.
And
like Cat Williams said, all lies will be revealed.
All lies will be revealed. So, personally, I am a very realistic person. All right? And I believe that in the country that we live in, money talks. It's all about the Benjamins.
Benjamins.
All right? Was that Puff Daddy and who? Was that Biggie and Mace? Who sang All About the Benjamins?
Well, I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Marty was All About the Benjamins. That's okay. It's a Bad Boy production. The song is called "It's All About the Benjamins," baby. It's all about the Benjamins. In this country, if you can find yourself a good enough lawyer, you can beat some of your charges. I'm not going to say that Puff Daddy is going to beat all of his charges.
Oh no, he has RICO charges. He's fucked.
No, but he's not gonna be pressed with all of these charges because this man is a billionaire. He has a lot of money, he has a lot of power, and he has a lot of pull. Bill Cosby was what? He went to jail for what? For raping how many women? And where is Bill Cosby now? Where is he now?
He's at home.
A free man living his best life with all whatever remains of all of the millions of dollars that he has. When he went to jail, I honestly thought, whoa, I can't believe they put Bill Cosby away for life. And then what do you know? About a year or two ago, he was out scot-free. Which means what? It's not what, even if the case is settled, it doesn't mean that it's over. If you have a good enough lawyer in this country, I'm not saying you're going to beat every single charge. All right, I'm not saying Puff Daddy is going to beat every single charge, but they will be able to explain some of these charges away. And I don't think all of these charges are going to stick. For example, the charges they're gonna have against him is they're going to say, oh, okay, he dealt in sex trafficking and prostitution and moving sex workers from state to state, essentially acting as a pimp.
And internationally.
Pimping people out to these, what is in the indictment called freak-offs. And a freak-off essentially is a sex party. That's what it is. It's people come over and they take a bunch of drugs and they have sex with one another in group settings.
And so the thing with the freak-offs is that they're not consensual parties. If anything, they're more like scripted performances. Like, for example, Cassie said that she would be forced to participate in freak-offs where she would have to have sex with a male sex worker or another woman, while Diddy and his entourage either masturbated or then like fucked both of them. You know what I mean? And so the people in these freak-offs would be plied with drugs. They would be plied with alcohol. And they would be under threat of violence or like other forms of financial coercion. Like, if you don't have sex with this person, I'm going to take away your housing because, you know, you are, like, your housing is dependent on me and my financial resources. So if you don't fuck this person, I'm going to make sure you're homeless. You know what I mean?
Right. And that would be how he would get Cassie to engage with sex workers and sex workers, prostitutes, and other people that were at these parties, random people that they picked up at the clubs, and friends of Diddy who wanted to come and enjoy themselves. And one of the things that the lawyers are saying right now that they're going to have as a defense is these people are of legal age, most of them. They're not children. These are adults. And they're willing participants in these freak-offs. And one of the arguments I think they're also going to pull off is, hey, Puff Daddy is a very powerful man. He has, when someone like Puff Daddy and any big celebrity, let's name someone really big, Denzel Washington, I don't know, Katy Perry, name another celebrity, Marty.
J. Cole.
I don't know about J. Cole, but I'm talking about really big people. Angelina Jolie, Tom Hanks, Jennifer Aniston. Big top celebrities, they can't just go out into the public. All right? Puff Daddy just can't go out into the public. He needs several bodyguards because wherever these people go, crowds just come onto them, right? And they will crush them if they don't have bodyguards. So understand that wherever someone like Sean Puffy Combs goes or Puff Daddy goes, there's crowds. People want to be around him. All right? And it's sad to say, but some people will do anything to stay around someone like that. All right? And let's say you get into a club one night and you see someone like that and they wave you over. Come on over here. Come and hang over here. I'm going to be honest. If a young 20-year-old me or 23-year-old me when I was in high school, or not high school, sorry, college. Let's say after college or post-college, if someone like Puff Daddy waved me over, I would have been a little pressed to hang out. Can I just say that? I would have been a little pressed to hang out. And what I heard that they do at these clubs is they have girls in their circle, and the girls are they love being around Puff Daddy and his crew, right? And what they do is they drink, they have endless supplies of alcohol, and they have endless supplies of different types of drugs. And yes, they do spike some of their drinks, and they do make them do, I guess, different things. And that's where I think it would come in, where maybe some people will be able to say, hey, I didn't want to be a part of that, and I was dragged into it because they drugged me. But at the same time, they could say, hey, these are willing participants. They were old enough to know what they were doing. They were there. They were partying. Look at the video. If you can't tell someone actually spiked their drink, if you can't see someone putting something into their drink, who's to say who did it? There's so many ways I think they can get around the claims of, I didn't really want to do this. It's like, no, you're hanging around a celebrity. You're hanging around his celebrity friends. You want to be around the celebrity because they have power and money. And more than likely, there's a lot of people that wanted to be around him regardless of what was going to happen to them.
Well, I don't know, because I feel like that argument kind of gets around the coercive aspect of this, though. You know what I mean? Like, Diddy had power over these people financially. Well,
the artist, he had power over Cassie, and he had power over his artist, and he had power maybe over his immediate circle, but he doesn't have power over everybody.
But like Lil Rod, for example, Lil Rod was one of his producers, okay, and like, don't get me wrong, like, Lil Rod probably isn't like treated like the average sex worker, but he was still sexually assaulted by Diddy. He was still plied with like some drug or alcohol, if I remember correctly. And then Diddy sexually assaulted him.
Right.
And then Diddy tried to pass him on to Cuba Gooding Jr.
Right. And for someone like that, who can prove that they didn't want to be a part of that, and that is not their lifestyle, and they can talk about their experience, for someone like that, it would come out like the E. Jean Carroll case, right? Someone like that would go, oh my God, they would go home and tell somebody. All right. Or maybe they would come out to somebody like a year later, and that person would be able to corroborate that story. If you don't tell anybody, or you don't talk about it, or you don't corroborate it with someone, it's my word versus your word. And let me tell you where it gets really, really difficult. When you're in court, all right, and I know a little bit about court, not too much. When you're in court, what matters is facts. Who, what, where, when, why. All right. If you don't have the date, the timestamp, and all these things, and you can't say when it happened, how it happened, why it happened, the lawyers will have a field day with you, because they'll say, well, you don't remember when it happened. Are you sure it really happened? And they will try to ask you things like moment to moment, silly things like that, to try to beat it out of you that, hey, maybe this didn't really happen, or maybe that's the wrong day, this and that and the other. They'll punch holes into your story where eventually you'll just have to give up. So with Little Rod, he could be somebody who could be like, hey, it happened on this day and that day, because he actually didn't want it to happen. He was working for him. He was making money. But let's just say, somebody was hanging out with them and they met them at the club. Like, how do you corroborate that story? How do you prove that this person wasn't just there hanging out with Diddy because they wanted to be around Diddy, because they wanted to be around Power, because they wanted to be around Usher, because they wanted to be around Mary J. Blige? Maybe Mary J. Blige was there. Maybe Mace was there. Maybe Biggie was there. You don't know what artists Puff Daddy's bringing around him, and you don't know who else is around in New York City. If you ever been to New York City, I'll tell you right now, there's celebrities that walk around the streets and aren't really bothered about walking around the streets. Not the big ones like Puffy, but I'm like, there's celebrities walking around everywhere and shopping, right? So just like, so Puff Daddy could be around different celebrities that just happen to be in town. And that could bring even more people in. I think this is going to be a really tough case.
I don't think so. To
prove for all of the people that are trying to press charges or trying to get something out of this case, out of Diddy, I think it's going to be hard for them.
I don't think so.
I think Jesse Ventura, what's her name? Cassie?
Yeah, Cassie Ventura.
Cassandra, a.k.a. Cassie Ventura. has gotten something out of it, because apparently in New York there was a statute that changed that you can still sue a sexual assault or a rape past the statute of limitations.
Yes, for 1 year.
It doesn't matter. I think they said it's basically forever. You can sue somebody and or still bring them up on charges past, I think usually it's 5 years. Typically after 5 years, and I don't know what all the states are, but I think in New York it's 5 years. After 5 years, you can't press charges. If you've never talked about it, you've never taken it to a lawyer, after 5 years, you can't go anywhere and try to press charges against people. And what they did is they lifted it up and they said it's basically an eternity. You can basically sue anyone, I think it's eternity. I think you can sue anyone that's done anything to you from any point in time. And after that statute of limitation was lifted, that's how Eugene Carroll got to sue Donald Trump. And I'm pretty sure that's how Cassie got to sue...
Oh, it is.
Diddy. And as soon as that happened, it became a major news story. And I'm going to tell you, one of the things I find really funny is the video from, I think it's 2014, showing 2016, where Puff Daddy is shown, Sean Diddy Combs, Puff Daddy, Puffy, whatever, is shown beating Cassie.
He beat the shit out of that woman.
Yeah, and
it was awful.
By the elevator, and I forgot, is it the Ritz-Carlton? I don't know which hotel it is.
It was in LA somewhere.
It was in LA somewhere. He was basically like violently, physically abusing her from running away, apparently, from a freak off. Okay, she ran out of the hotel room, and Puff Daddy like ran after her, and he kicked her in her stomach. He slapped her, he beat her, he pushed her down. And then there's another video where they show him like throwing a vase at her. It is beyond shocking what Puffy did to Cassie.
And so like
beyond shocking. It's beyond disgusting. It is violent on another level.
No, I agree. And that's why, friend, I don't think they're going to have a hard time with this. Because, like, yeah, like, you know, like, this maybe might be he said, she said for, like, you know, certain cases. But, like, the truth is, like, we all know Diddy's a piece of shit. Okay, 1. 2, we have video evidence of Diddy beating the fuck out of some woman. Okay? We have had rumors of Diddy sexually assaulting people for decades. Okay?
Rumors are not, they're not indictments, and they're not...
Did you just forget about the fact that they just did a raid on his house and found hundreds of videotapes and digital copies of everything that went on and the freakouts?
Diddy, like, has produced videos of his rapes. Diddy has... Not only that, but, like, there's, like... How do I put this? Not just rumors and indictments, but, like... Yeah, there's just evidence of this happening too. Like Cassie got paid out by Diddy. Like
I think 60 million, or was it 30 million or 60 million?
It was a substantial amount. Cassie got paid out. All right,
that woman. Medical records involved as well at this point too.
Diddy couldn't even lie about it. Diddy is just like, you know what? Diddy had to make a whole ass video where he lied for a minute saying he felt bad because Cassie just had that man no rights. All right, like seriously, and he was coming from like the bamboo shack that Russell Simmons is in.
Yeah,
you know, if you see that ceiling, that bamboo ceiling, you know that black person did it. I'm sorry, when a wealthy black person runs to Thailand or Bali or some shit,
you know,
and is coming to you live.
You know there's something wrong.
Yeah, you know, that's how they did that shit.
You should have stayed in Bali, Diddy. And you should have stayed in Bali. I don't know why you came back.
Because they had Russell doing that, and they had Lizzo doing the same shit, too. All right? I was like, oh, no, they don't, everything they were accused of, they did it. All right?
Wow.
Like, and so that's what I'm saying. Like, Diddy has so many victims that, like, even if some aren't proven to be true, but on a legal status, now here's the thing. Diddy, to me, is like Suge Knight and Harvey Weinstein. If there's a rumor about him, to me, he did it. I'm sorry. That's just how Rami works, all right? Like,
and that's not how the law works.
But, like, the law, like, I'm sorry, Diddy has too many cases. He, like, that man is caught up in too many things. Like, even, it's the shotgun approach. Even if he dodges a few bullets, some of them bullets are going to land. That man's going to jail, all right? Diddy's fucked, okay?
I think Diddy's in a pretty bad space right now. But given the fact that he's a billionaire, I think he will beat some of these charges. I'm not saying he's going to beat the majority of them, but I don't think he's going to serve the rest of his years in prison for these freak offs. And the reason why I don't think he's gonna serve a lot of time for these freak offs is because he's gonna try to prove that a lot of these freak offs that he had were consensual. These were adults engaging in consensual sexual acts. I think where he's gonna have a tough time trying to get around the law is if he has video or if Homeland Security, who's investigating Diddy at this point, and I'm pretty sure the FBI too, finds out that he was also dealing with minors. I think if you bring minors into the picture, that's where it's going to get a little murky, because there is very little room for anything saying that, hey, like, the minors were consenting. Like, minors can't consent to
little
that
room.
stuff.
No, they can't.
Yeah. Like, I'm just saying, there's legally, it's very bad. So if and the way I'm watching a lot of MSNBC and a lot of like online court reportings and online other podcasts talking about it, and what they're saying is it's rumored that they're also going to be talking about minors being involved in some of these freak offs, and that's where I think that it's going to be very hard for him. If they can prove, or if it comes out that there were minors involved, and they're talking about Usher and Justin Bieber being involved in some of these things when they were under the age of 18, that's where I'm like, okay, if that evidence comes out, then that's the end. I think that's where the keys, what's it called, the book will be thrown at him, and he will definitely be going to prison for the rest of his life. Now, given that he is a billionaire and he has phenomenal lawyers that are going to be fighting tooth and nail for every single charge to be dropped, because lawyers have no hearts, I'm going to be waiting to see how this turns out.
Now, let's read some of the most pertinent aspects of this indictment, okay? So I'm not going to take up too much time with this, y'all. I know that this is just you watching me read, but I think this is important because it really gets to the heart of the federal government's case against Diddy. So we're going to start off with Section 3, okay? And so Section 3 pretty much says that at all times relevant to this indictment, Sean Combs, the defendant, engaged in persistent and a pervasive pattern of abuse toward women and other individuals. This abuse was at times verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual. As part of his pattern of abuse, Combs manipulated women to participate in highly orchestrated performances of sexual activity with male commercial sex workers. At times, Combs and others acting at his direction made arrangements for women and commercial sex workers to fly to Combs' location. Combs ensured participation from women by, among other things, obtaining and distributing narcotics to them, controlling their careers, leveraging financial support, and threatening to cut off the same, and using intimidation and violence. And so that really gets to not only the sex trafficking aspects of this, but also the coercion. And it kind of undercuts Combs' argument that these are consensual sex parties, because the financial coercion is there, the physical coercion is there, the sexual coercion is there. You have every aspect of this where these people have needles and pointed at them, essentially, saying, if you don't do these sex acts, I'm going to hurt you. Either physically, emotionally, financially, but however it takes, I want you to do this. All right. So we're going to go down to sections 5 and 6. 5 and 6 are the sections that really deal with how this was a criminal enterprise, okay? And these are the heaviest charges against Combs, in my opinion. Because, like, here's the thing. The federal government wins, like, 95% of the cases it brings up against people. The federal government does not like losing, because that's embarrassing. The U.S. government does not like losing, okay?
And the Southern District of New York, I believe, has a 96 or 97% win rate.
Yes, like if you are facing federal charges, you are fucked, okay, viewer? Like, please understand this. Especially RICO charges. RICO charges were literally designed to destroy the mafia, okay?
Yes, they are.
You're done, okay? They put all those mobsters away off of RICO charges, okay? Because they couldn't charge them on a lot of the murders and stuff. So they just put on RICO charges, like, oh, well, you're running a criminal enterprise. That itself is inherently illegal. You know what I mean? Okay, so Section 5 gets into how Combs used his enterprise to facilitate, carry out, and cover up his abuse and commercial sex. These employees, including security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and high-ranking supervisors and other close associates, acted as Combs' intermediaries, and their conduct was facilitated and assisted by Combs' control of the Combs business. This basically says that Combs is running a criminal enterprise and that there are numerous people involved with this criminal enterprise.
Racketeering.
Yes, racketeering. Exactly. Preach it. And so 6 gets into how Combs members and associates of the Combs enterprise engaged and attempted to engage in among other activities, sex trafficking, forced labor, interstate transportation for purposes of prostitution, coercion, and enticement to engage in prostitutions, narcotic offenses, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. So this is saying that under the Combs enterprise, Combs had lots of people, and himself included, committing various acts of violence and prostitution and sex trafficking and bribery and witness tampering. So these sections are critical here because they're really getting into how it's not only Combs just being an abusive dirtbag, shitbag. Like, there are lots of guys who beat and rape people without running criminal enterprises. This gets into how Combs used his criminal enterprise in order to facilitate the rape, the abuse, the bribery, the arson, and everything. That's what's important.
Okay, so I'll give you guys an example. So one of the things they're going to talk about in the case is I believe one of the contestants that was on the band on MTV, I don't know if that's the name of the show, please forgive me if it's the wrong name of the show, claims that she was on a yacht with Sean Puffy Combs and his son and the entourage and a bunch of other people. And while on the yacht, they started distributing shots, okay? And there was a lot of people on this yacht. Of course, there's the captain, the cooks, the cleaners, the maids, and whatnot. And, there's all these people that are on the yacht that are witnessing and also that have to be cognizant of what's going on. The captain can't be drunk and...
No, he can't freak off. He has to lock in.
Right? He has to lock in.
He's piloting the boat.
Okay. So, anyway, this girl says that she was on this boat and she was hanging out with the crew. And apparently, Sean's son, Sean is Sean, P Diddy, Puff Daddy, whatever. His son, Christian, really wanted to have intimate relations with her. So he kept pushing her to have this drink. So he wanted her to take this shot. And all these people were taking the shots. And apparently, as soon as they took these shots, they became incredibly inebriated and basically out of it. All right? And for all intents and purposes, once they became out of it, they were able to be coerced into sexual acts and doing other weird things on the boat. And the girl said she just wouldn't take the shot. And eventually, I think this Sean's son, Christian, I think he made her take the shot or whatever, but he coerced her into something. And I don't know the full story, but it's all really murky and it's all really bad. But it all goes down with Sean's son essentially being charged with some kind of either coercion to have sex or rape. Okay? And the girl basically said the boat was a wild situation. Once everybody started doing alcohol and started doing the shots that they were provided, it became a sex party. It became mayhem. It became uncomfortable for her. And I want to say eventually she did get off the boat, but it was after the captain berated her and was mean to her and didn't want to believe her story that Christian, Sean's son, had done something to her and she just wanted to go home. Eventually she did get off the boat, but it wasn't before she was violated in some kind of way. And there's numerous stories like this about Puffy's parties, these quote unquote freak offs, essentially sex parties. They're orgies orchestrated by Sean, and he's the one that provides the alcohol, the drugs. He provides all of the direction. He also has cameras going everywhere, so he's recording these things. And after he's recorded these things, and this is not like regular drugs that me and you might encounter like at a club.
Oh, no, these are like Quaaludes.
Right.
Like the things that Bill Cosby's using to rape these women.
Right. So we're not talking about, hey, like I had a Molly while I was at the club and like I was totally high. Or I had some edibles and I got really high. These are drugs that when you take them, you can be coerced into things that you typically would not be able to be coerced into. So it's not mild things that might make you a little bit loose and kind of fun. These are drugs that can make you uber sexual.
Or not even uber sexual, but just more open.
Or just completely out of it so that they can take advantage of you.
That's what I'm trying to say.
But whatever it is, it makes you not yourself. You're not yourself, and you're being taken advantage to the point where it is and can be interpreted, and for all intents and purposes, in my opinion, is rape.
Yes, it
is. If you give someone a drug because you think that they might not want to do what you want them to do, so that you can convince them to have sex with you, that to me is essentially rape.
No, not essentially. It is rape.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is rape. But like I said before, what's going to happen with these cases is what they're going to say is these were legal, consenting adults that knew what they were getting into. So one thing I will say about these situations with these freak-offs is, because what they're saying is a lot of people are about to go down, including the captain, by the way, on that boat that let that happen. So the captain, the cleaners in the hotels that have been covering up these things that have been happening, the people who facilitated and brought the baby oil to the hotels and or boats or wherever it is they were having these freak-offs, apparently they found 1,000 bottles of baby oil in one of Puff Daddy's homes. Who needs 1,000 bottles of baby oil? I don't even have one bottle of baby oil at my house. It's just so disgusting. 1,000 bottles of baby oil is one of the things that it's not even, and I think that's just the beginning of it. This is just what they're letting out right now.
I agree.
Yeah.
There's reams of evidence.
Yeah, there's a lot of evidence of some pretty interesting things that were going down at Puff Daddy's house, but go ahead, continue.
Oh, like, really, I just want to end it with Section 12 of this indictment. I think that this section is very pertinent, too. Primarily because it just gets into the methods of how Combs was able to essentially do all this stuff. And so, like, it's pretty long, so I'm not going to read all of it. But basically it says that Combs would basically intimidate, threaten, and lure women into areas so that he could abuse them. He did this with the help of his associates under the Combs Enterprise. He also would then give these women substances, again, in order to keep them compliant. And then when things happened and outsiders or witnesses who weren't supposed to be part of the plan got involved, such as when Cassie's was getting the hell beat out of her by Combs in L.A., a security guard actually tried to intervene, and now they have evidence that Combs tried to pay the security guard off and bribe him to stay silent.
They also bribed the hotel to keep the tape away from the public. So the hotel, I think, also is probably going to be sued for lying and keeping that tape away from the general public.
Yes. And so it just gets in really the coercion and the intimidation necessary for Combs to keep this whole abusive enterprise together. And so another thing I want to ask you, Fran, personally, okay?
Yeah, sure.
Is really, so in my opinion, I don't think that, like, do you really think that Combs being a billionaire is going to play that much of a role? Like, honestly, I think Combs, here's the thing, it gets back to what I was saying, like the question earlier. I don't think that this is going to be, personally, a huge Me Too moment for rap. I think there's going to be some sacrificial lambs, for lack of a better term. I just think that Combs is he's so obviously guilty of so many things. Yeah, like I don't think this is going to change a lot of things overnight. I think what they're going to do is just put Combs in prison where he deserves to be. Don't get me wrong. But it's not going to stop the system of abuse that happens. I don't know. Do you think this will lead to any major change?
Personally, I mean, okay, one of the most really interesting thing about kind of like the internet, social media, and I don't know, just all these different social spaces where different characters can kind of go on and kind of say their experience and what happens to them and people corroborating and things like that is you have people not just like Jaguar Wright, but some of the people who are listed in the indictment as being people who were taken advantage of and were abused and raped, coming out and talking about the actual things that happened to them. So you have actual direct evidence of the victims prior to the case coming out and saying, hey, like the girl on the boat, she's like, I was violated on the boat. Many people were violated on the boat. You have people like Usher now coming out and saying, not exactly, Usher hasn't said exactly what has happened, but he's insinuated about some things. You have Justin Bieber insinuating some things in his songs. You have Jaguar Wright coming out and saying some things on the songs. And you have different people talking about other artists who've also done some of these different types of behaviors. And in general, I think this is the tip of the iceberg. I think this is something tiny in a massively giant structure of very, very, basically an industry full of problems. Maybe that's a big way of putting it.
I like that term, actually. An industry full of problems.
An industry full of problems. And I'm not talking about just the music industry. I'm talking about Hollywood. I've heard a lot of really bizarre things about like what goes on in Hollywood and what people have to do to get parts and how they stay relevant and all these really strange things. These things that Sean Diddy Combs Puffy has been involved in and has been indicted on so far and is going to go to trial for, to be charged for whatever it is that the court's going to find him liable for. These are things I've been hearing about for years and years at this point. And when I see this, I'm like, oh, this is what they've been saying all along. Okay, I guess it's true. And I go about my life because honestly, it's not that I don't care. I feel really bad for anybody who has to go through things like this. But at the same time, like, I have to go about my daily life. I still have bills to pay. I still have things to do that are necessary for me to fulfill my dreams and to be able to live a normal life without thinking about, these terrible things that have happened to minors and also to probably who were genuinely good people trying to make record deals and careers out of music and or Hollywood. I think Sean Combs, Puff Daddy, Puffy Love, Brother Love, whatever he wants to call himself, is the tip of the iceberg. I think there are very many more people who are doing these types of things to other people, other artists, other singers, other musicians, other actors, right? These are they're bizarre things that goes on within this industry. I think it's part of a bigger problem. And what I don't like about this entire thing is that we're looking at one person when I think it's way worse. It's way bigger with way more predators.
It's an institution.
I think it's kind of an institution. And I would feel a lot better if the entire thing crumbled, in the sense that then they, maybe they could start over and have something a little bit more normal.
Yeah. Actually, no, I think the worst part is that this is normal.
No, it's normal to them for right now, but it's not normal. We all know it's not normal. There's nothing normal about what's going on there. But I wish it could crumble from the top down, not from the bottom up. I think Puffy is at the bottom. I don't think he's the main person perpetrating and or doing these horrible things. I think there are bigger fish at the top that are orchestrating and, making sure things like this continue. Because my question is, why has this been going on for this long? Why? Cassie was what? In 2014 is when he beat her up in the hotel?
2016. She was 31?
2016. 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. 1, 2, 3, 4. That was 8 years ago. And she's not the first victim.
Nope, not at all.
Not by far is she the first victim. Why is this still going on? Who keeps this shit going?
Everyone.
Who are the sick people behind this? And
I think you're looking for specific people, and there are specific people. I think it's an institution, Oh, no, I'm fine, thank you. But
I'm not fine. I'm going to drink some more.
It's just, there are norms, and the whole business reflects this. They want this to happen. It's like the casting couch in Hollywood, Like,
what's the casting couch, Ryan?
The casting couch is essentially like this term that refers to how lots of people fuck their way into Hollywood or fuck their way upwards in Hollywood. You know what I mean? There are numerous rumors and examples of people having sex in order to get farther, in order to go places in Hollywood.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, why has this been going on for so long? To me, it is because it is facilitated by people who have way too much power, way too much influence, way too much influence in order to be able to cover up major crimes. How is it that Puff Daddy can violate, allegedly, Usher and Justin Bieber
and blow up Kid Cudi's car?
And allegedly blow up Kid Cudi's car, but forget about blowing up Kid Cudi's car. Kid Cudi is an adult. I'm talking about violating minors. How is it that he can allegedly, if this is true, violate these minors for all these years? Justin Bieber's been famous since he was 12?
Yeah, no, seriously.
Usher's been famous for how long?
I don't know, for decades.
But since he was a teenager.
Yeah, he was a young man.
Usher,
he was a boy. Sorry, not a young man, boy.
We all had crushes on Usher. Okay, I had a major crush on Usher when he came out. Why is this allowed? Why couldn't Usher just be Usher and be famous and talented and go about his career without this happening to him? Why couldn't Justin Bieber just be famous without this happening to him? Why couldn't Cassie just be famous without this happening to her? And numerous other people. Who was the kid that also said that he was violated and then also tried to be passed on to Cuba Gooding?
Oh, no, that wasn't a kid. That was a Lil Rod, a producer.
Okay, not a kid, but still an adult.
No, of course.
Why did it happen to Lil Rod? Why is it happening to so many people? This is a cover-up on a major scale. There's law enforcement that is definitely covering up some shit on different ranks and levels, all right? Not Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein in Florida with his sex trafficking ring that he had going on for, decades and decades on end. There are many times where I have seen reports where they could have taken down Jeffrey Epstein.
But they didn't.
But they didn't. It kept getting covered up. Wherever it went to, court systems would just cover up everything that he was doing. So it just kept going on. And these girls, these little vulnerable girls were taken advantage of for decades and decades on end. It's the same thing with Sean Puffy Combs Puff Daddy. He's a small fish in a big pond. And I think, it's great that, if he does go down and does serve the rest of his years in life, well deserved. You're a fucking weirdo. You know what I mean? You're just you're beyond repugnant, as a human being, and you deserve everything that you do get. But the people that are above him that are also going to continue this, and the people who are orchestrating and allowing this to be covered up, because I believe it's still going to continue. Shame on you.